All right. First and foremost, I want to give call Allah Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. It's all praise to the Most High God in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world inwardly called Jesus Christ. It's your brother Taz upon you by Yahweh. Back at you with another edifying video. So it's been on my spirit for a few years now, actually, just doing research and talking to elder statesmen from my city. And coming to uncover and find out a lot of things as far as Hebrew Israelite culture and how it's been entrenched in Chicago, right? For years. We know New York to be the mecca of it, which we're going to touch on that within the video. But yeah, New York's the mecca, but Chicago might be like the second or third place on the list where Israelite culture has been ingrained here, since like before the 80s and 70s. Of course, you had Ben Amin in his congregation that left from Chicago to live over in Dimona, Israel, which that happened, I think, in the 50s or 60s or something like that. But so in my studies of finding certain things out, because I'm a real big gang enthusiast. Like I come from the lifestyle, growing up here, or whatnot. Gangs are a part of most of our lives. They grew up in the 90s and even today. It's more so cliques now, but it still stems off of the gang banging aspect of life. But anyway. I was real heavy on gang history, so I want to say me and my brother about some years ago, probably more than 7 or 8 years ago, we used to get on this website called ChicagoGangs.org. I don't even think it's up anymore, but you was able to go on the website and look at the history of gangs and how they formed, etc., etc. Right? So they also had different branches of certain gangs. Like you got the conservative Vice Lord Nation. Then out of that they have subgroups. Like you have traveling Vice Lords, unknown Vice Lords, and just like them, you had a lot of factions of the Stones. Where you had Black P Stones, then you had Ebonite Stones, and you had El Rukins, and you had what's the other name? Reubenite Stones, right? Apache Stones, etc., etc. But under the Stone moniker or under the Stone banner, it was something called Israelite Stones. And this was before we came up on this information, before either one of us was in the truth. My brother is also, in the walk as well. He was the one who told me to read Deuteronomy 28 and basically got me started on my journey into knowing who I was, right? As far as being a Hebrew Israelite is concerned, but that's neither here nor there. But when we saw that back then, it just kind of, always stuck in the back of my mind, like, what did the Stones know about the Israelites? So after coming into the truth years later, I had remembered, it got called to my mind about hearing about those Israelite Stones. So I went on ahead and did some research and tried to find out about them or whatnot. So, and this is what I found. While Jeff Ford was converting to Islam, which he had no business dealing in that wild man's religion, all right? But while Jeff Ford was converting to Islam, Eugene Harrison faced trouble in Joliet. He was accused of threatening another BPS affiliate inmate who wanted to leave the gang. A prison disturbance also went down on April 22nd, 1975, with a religious group known as B'nai Zakim. Remember that name, B'nai Zakim, right? Helped inmates carry out a disturbance by bringing drugs to Eugene Harrison so he could use them to control Joliet Correctional, as Harrison was now being in the early stages of trying to take over Joliet Prison. Now that fort was moved. Um, so yeah. So remember that name Benai Zakim, right? Benai Zakim, because it's gonna come up later on, right? It's gonna come up right here. Around April 1976, the Stones were about to advance back onto the south side of Chicago after Chief established a contract with Prince Yak, James Brantley, who had just started his own movement called Benai Zakim. So it's a different, they spell it a little bit different, but I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. Benai Zakim, and then you have Benai Zakim, which was the Hebrew word for black stones. Prince Yak was a mentor to Chief and helped him solidify the stones. He helped him solidify the stones during their shaking beginning in Milwaukee. Prince Yak was actually well into his 50s in age, therefore he became a part of Chief's army. When they're saying Chief, it's talking about Jeff Ford. Okay, just so people are following and walking with me, right? Chief's army at an already older age, which was not unheard of and became more prevalent during these days. Prince Yak had opened Sons of Ancient Israelites Holy Temple, or the camp, at 42nd and Prairie in the Grand Boulevard neighborhood. At this temple, it was the headquarters of Israelite Stones, a branch that embraced Black Hebrew Israelite faith, or Black Hebrew faith, because in the Hebrew religion, the black race is God's chosen people. See, they knew something, man, right? And we're gonna find out how they came up on this knowledge, which is linked back to New York, right? But anyway, many have said that this was just a cover to mass illegal activities. The temple was just one block north of the Titanic Peastone headquarters on 43rd in Indiana, located exactly at 4233 South Indiana Avenue, Fort Trey. Some of the members of the Main 21 were present at this celebration, along with Blackstone leader Eugene Harrison. Fort only wanted his chosen Main 21s present that he wanted to convert to these new ways that were soon to be announced. One of the Main 21 present was the leader of the Titanics, Willie Dollar Bill Bibbs. The rest of the Titanics were left to Robert Button East. The new order established by Jeff Fort was called El Rukns, which means cornerstones in Arabic, which is crazy, right? Because although Jeff Fort was going off into that wild man's religion, matter of fact, let's get that in the Bible, right? This is Genesis 16 and 12. And he will be a wild man, and his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of his brethren. If you want to get the context, this is talking about Ishmael, man. All right, this is talking about the biblical Arab, all right, whose dumbass religion that Jeff Fort, wanted to go in and follow. But the reason why he's doing that is because of the curses of Deuteronomy 28:64. Let's get that. Deuteronomy 28:64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other. Then thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And this can also go into why our people are so ingrained in that goddamn Christianity and Catholicism, right? But in this case, Jeff Fort wanted to go the Islamic route, right? Just like when the old man Larry Hoover, when he went to jail, he started to pick up on some of that Islamic nonsense. That was word on the street. I don't know if he's still into it now, but that was a thing at one point in time, right? But just going into proving, hitting certain points, just proving that we're Israelites, man, right? But let's get back to it. Well, where did I stop at? All right, was I at this one, or was I here? Okay. Oh, that's what I wanted to go into. The El Rukns, which means cornerstones in Arabic. right? And who do we know as the chief cornerstone is Yahweh Shai, right? In the scriptures. So it's crazy how, you know, even on the left hand side, when you go into a lot of this either gang banging literature or gang banging history, you can see certain things and how like you can correlate them with the people in the Bible. You know, Yahweh Shai calls himself a cornerstone. The scripture calls Israel lively stones, right? Hewn stones. And then you got a predominantly black gang, you know, in the slums of Chicago calling themselves Black Stones, right? And then you got on the other side of the spectrum their rivals who are called the disciples. You know, all these things are biblical, man. Although they may be on the left hand side, they're biblical, right? Just proving that these people are who we say they are, man. You blacks, Latins, and Native Americans, man, who suffer from the curses of Deuteronomy 28, which is why you're heavy, which is why you're real heavy in the gang culture and hating your brother, man. You are the Israelites, man. All right, but let's just get back to it. I'm gonna start right here. Some of the chosen in attendance did not like this new way, and the most vocal was Eugene Harrison. Chief Jeff Ford then held a private meeting in one of the rooms with Harrison, and an argument broke out as Chief was trying to convince Harrison that this was the best route for the nation, and this would bring young black men the proper spiritual guidance, which was a bunch of bull crap, but anyway, that would allow them to stay away from the slave mentality. Harrison disagreed mixing religion in with gangsterism, right? And even stated that he disagreed with wearing turbans in the daytime and dressing as gangsters at night. See, Eugene Harrison, he didn't want to be a hypocrite. You know, he knew damn well that what they was doing, there was nothing spiritual about it. All right, well, nothing that was in a righteous spirit anyway. Right. So let's see. He saw this as a hypocritical, and that's crazy. I just said it. He saw this as a hypocritical and disrespect to the religion. Chief became enraged and ordered his death on the spot. See, and this just goes into us having that evil eye towards our brother, which is still proving that we are the Israelites, right? We can take the ills of our people and still correlate it back to the Bible to show who we are, right? So this is Deuteronomy 28 and 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother, right? His eye shall be evil towards his brother. This is somebody that is in Jeff Ford's own organization, who he just, because they had a disagreement, he just ready to kill a nigga, like just on the spot, right? And he was a part of the main 21. The main 21 would be like, you know, what the elect is in the Bible for the Stones at that time, right? They would be the ruling class men. So you can get what I'm saying, you know, brothers and sisters that are in this walk, so y'all can, you know, understand. Anyway, let's get back to it. He saw that it was hypocritical and a disrespect to the religion. Chief became enraged and ordered his death on the spot. But Prince Yak intervened and pleaded with Chief not to kill Harrison, even after Harrison taunted Chief. Instead of killing Harrison, Chief declared that Harrison was completely out of the organization for good. Harrison warned that this would be the downfall of everything, and Chief responded with a threat to end Harrison if he ever saw him again. Harrison was allowed to walk out of the meeting, but was now on an even smaller figure in the overall spotlight. But he remained chief of the Black Stones, while the Black Peace Stones were supposed to be finished for good as well. So here's Prince Yak, who saved this man's life, right? This is Prince Yak right here. Matter of fact, let me see if I can get a better picture of him. This is the brother that was that was the leader of the Israelite Stones, Prince Yak. He's right here, you know, and this is him right here. You see him with the Israelite garb on, and you see Jeff Ford and them with these damn silly ass what do you call them? That Thez is on their head, you know, or whatnot. But you can see the brother in the back as well. He's dressed like a Hebrew Israelite. And it also looked like you got another brother back here, you know, with a Mitri on as well. But yeah, Prince Yak, who was the elder at that time, who was a mentor to Jeff Fort, you know, he saved Eugene Harrison's life, you know, because Fort wanted to kill him. He made sure he walked up out of there with his life, and he was just keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, man. You know, Exodus 20 and 13, thou shalt not kill, or rather it should say, thou shalt not murder. And we know the 10 commandments, you know, this was given unto Israel. So this is talking about you not killing another Israelite, right? Leviticus 19 and 17, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart, right? Thou shalt not in any wise rebuke, thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him, right? So Prince Yak knew that if he was to allow Jeff Fort to go through with that and not stop him and not rebuke him and correct him, you know, that would have been him suffering sin, you know, upon his brother. You know, for you to just, because for you to not say something that you know is wrong, for you to not correct somebody, that means you condone it, right? So, you know, if it wasn't for him coming into the knowledge of who he was, that probably wouldn't have went that way, right? But another interesting find is that when you look up this Benai Zakim, or even when you look it up how it's spelled down here, Benai Zakim, right, with the E at the end, it's the same thing. What pops up is Beth Shalom, right? It takes you to this website, Beth Shalom. Beth Shalom, and I know people from this organization, you know, done rubbed shoulders with them, because before I had found SICARRI, I was going to a Hebrew Israelite temple out here in Chicago called House of Israel Temple of Faith. It's no longer standing right now. You know, R.I.P. to Rabbi Hodges, you know, Elder Hodges. You know, he passed a couple of years back. But that's how I know the people of Beth Shalom. And it's crazy how, you know, things pan out, because I told y'all that the Mecca of the whole Hebrew Israelite movement started in New York. And then it went from New York to Chicago, and you're going to see how that happened. So it says our history, right? Beth Shalom, Benai Zakim, right? The same thing that you saw here. Where is it at? Right here. You see it there. And you also see it, where else is it? You also see it right here. Right? Just different variations of spelling it, but it's the same thing. Where was I at? Okay. Beth Shalom Benai Zakim, Ethiopian Hebrew congregation. Beth Shalom is the oldest temple in the Chicago area serving the Israelite community. It was established as the Ethiopian Hebrew Association in 1915 by Rabbi Horace Hassan. In 1918, Rabbi David Lazarus and Rabbi Casino Sturson came to the Chicago area from New York and later joined forces with Rabbi Hassan. In 1923, our beloved senior Rabbi Abihu Ben Reuben, may God bless his memory, joined this congregation, which was located at 1850 West Lake Street. In the 1930s and 1940s, the leadership of Ethiopian Hebrew community was firmly in the hands of Rabbi Abihu Ben Reuben, Rabbi Lazarus, and Rabbi Lewis Green. Rabbis Reuben and Lazarus studied under Chief Rabbi Wentworth A. Matthew at the Commandment Keepers congregation in New York City, which we know the Commandment Keepers, these are the same Commandment Keepers and the same Rabbi Matthews that Abba Bivens, Elder Bivens, was a part of before he broke off, and then he started the ISUPK, the original ISUPK, right, out there on 1 West 125th Street, right, back in 1969. And were ordained rabbis by Chief Rabbi Matthew Rabbi Louis Green received his Master's of Science in Jewish Studies from the College of Jewish Studies in Chicago, Illinois. In 1952, Chief Rabbi Wentworth A. Matthew came to Chicago to oversee the opening of a new temple to serve the Ethiopian Hebrew community in 1984. The Congregation of Ethiopian Hebrews and Beth Shalom Hebrew Congregation merged to form Beth Shalom Ethiopian Hebrew Congregation. Rabbis Abihu ben Reuben and Casper C. Funyi Jr. served the congregation as senior and assistant rabbis in 1993. Beth Shalom merged with the Congregation of B'nai Zakim to form Beth Shalom B'nai Zakim Ethiopian Hebrew Congregation with Rabbi Capers C. Funyi Jr. as rabbi. Beth Shalom is a affiliate congregation of International Israelite Board of Rabbis, Inc., and fully embraces the ideas of resolution, which was passed by the board in 1981, affirms the brotherhood of all people who worship God. Yeah, that's some all-inclusive nonsense, but whatever. But I was just going to show, how Prince Yak more than likely came up on this information that he was a Hebrew Israelite is because he was probably more than likely, learning from one of these brothers or an offshoot of one of these brothers. So, like I said, the Mecca starts in New York and spread it, throughout other places in the Western Hemisphere, and Chicago was one of those places. Matter of fact, a few years back, G Herbo, which is a known Chicago rapper, came out and said that he was a Hebrew Israelite, and he learned it from his uncle, which his uncle passed, but it just goes to show that this truth is spreading like wildfire, man. All right, and I'm gonna just go ahead and let this play, and then I'm gonna close out.
For like, just I'm big on beliefs. Like whatever I feel in my body and my heart, that's just what I am. Like just growing up, my uncle was a Hebrew Israelite. He passed away. I looked up to him a lot. You know what I'm saying? It just the little bit I know about it. So I just feel like that's our true religion. You know what I'm saying? Our people are Israelites. That's what I believe. You know what I'm saying? Just the little bit I know about it. I've been to a couple services when I was growing up, but no, I haven't really I never went to a church or nothing like that growing up or anything. But I mean, pretty, you know what I'm saying? Eventually, when that part of my life comes, I'm not putting it aside or like that. I'm just, you know what I'm saying, not a hypocrite. If I'm gonna do something, I gotta do it. You know what I'm
saying? And he's in the spirit with saying that, right? Because what do the scriptures say? What's that? Proverbs. What's that? Let me get that scripture right quick. Train up a child in the way he should go. That's Ephesians? Nah, Proverbs 22 and 6. All right, let's get there. Proverbs 22 and 6. Proverbs 22 and 6. Because Herb learned this growing up. He said, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Right? So Herb know he's not really, living, a type of righteous lifestyle that his uncle taught him as a shorty. Right? And then he says, when that part of his life comes, because everybody comes into this walk at their own time. It's not on our time, it's on the Most High's time. So, he's just saying that he want to be right and with it all the way. And if he going to do it, he going to do it right instead of half-stepping, just like the scriptures say. The Most High don't want you to be lukewarm and he don't want you to be lukewarm, hot and cold at the same time. He would rather you be all the way on fire in this thing, or you just be cold and just, it was better off for you not even to come into it, man, if you're not going to, fully submit to it all the way, but, yeah, that was pretty much it on that. Yeah, just showing that this Hebrew Israelite thing, man, it's been around for a while. And Chicago is one of the places where it spread it to, one of the major cities outside of New York. So with that, I'm going to call Allah Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai and say Shalom.